She said, as an abolitionist, I care about two things. I care about my relationships and how we reduce harm.
Welcome to another episode of the Social Exchange Project. I'm your host, Shang Elizabeth Lohr, and today I'm joined by two very powerful abolitionists and friends who have dedicated much of their lives working to better their communities. So first, I'd like to introduce my co-host, also like a co-guest and my partner in crime in life. She's a community support advocate for incarcerated people transitioning back into their homes, as well as an elected board member here in Eau Claire County who's been serving in her role since 2016. More importantly, I feel like you and I are just kindred souls, and you have a beautiful brain, and we've had many talks about everything of life and social justice and other personal things that I will not mention. But thanks for being here and helping facilitate this conversation, Kim.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Kim
having
Cronk,
me.
everyone.
Thank you.
And then our guest of honor is an award-winning criminal justice professor, an author of his own memoir titled From Prison to PhD, a restorative justice educator for over 12 years, leading, is it 12 years? 12 years, right? Leading circles in jails and prisons, as well as the co-founder of the Humanize My Hoodie movement. This incredible man is a social justice warrior, a leader, an educator, an abolitionist, and just everything in one. So welcome to the show, Jason Soul.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for being here and making the drive here.
Not a problem.
So we were talking about this, but we all met on the same day. And how this happened for me was my friend David Carlson was like, hey, do you want to go to this hangout? And I was like, what is it about? And he's like, I'm not really sure, but do you want to go? I was like, sure, I'll come. So I met him at his place, and just a few of us drove up to Rice Lake and met you. So, and then I met you as well. So kind of just talk to me about your journey of how you got to where you are now doing the work that you're doing.
Oh, that was a mixture of stuff. You know, that was like how I got here, man. Like,
we've got time.
I still don't even really, I still don't know, you know, to be a professor and all of that. It does feel like I have like imposter syndrome sometimes, because it's like I'm from the trenches, from Chicago, South Side. You know the stories. And I just had to try to figure it out. So I always felt like I was on a journey, even as a kid, through all the basketball stuff, all of the heroin in my neighborhood, you know, teenage mom, teenage father, like all of the elements was against us. So you think about the 1994 crime bill, I would say that, you know, impacted a lot of my life moving forward. I moved to Iowa in 1994, and it was like war on drugs, school to prison pipeline, all of that stuff, slavery, going to prison, coming home, being met with the new Jim Crow, but then studying the system. So I would say it's an amalgamation of things that allowed me to get here and have this perspective that I have. But I'm just grateful to not have lost my mind in those cages, or, you know, that I can have a healthy life. You know what I mean? And that's not always the case. I've seen people get on medication while incarcerated, and then the medication don't work that good no more, and they trying to figure it out and think they doing all kind of experiments to figure out what's going to work for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, with that perspective, I always say it, once I have a voice and once I have a platform, like, I'm going to really, you know, do what I set out to do early in life. And that was really just to, you know, heal my community.
And I love the part that you're talking about healing, because one thing I took away from that circle, which I've never been a part of anything like that before, it was a small circle, but it was like a very meaningful like experience for me. That was actually what set me off into learning a lot more. And I feel like I'm still learning a lot. I'll forever be a student in learning. But learning more about what it means for me as an individual to be an abolitionist, you know. But when you had talked about healing, one thing I took away was you said heal yourself before you can go out in the community and heal others.
For sure.
Like, what was that like for you? I guess, I mean, I'm sure that's a very long story, but what was that healing journey like for you?
Just really facing the fact that, you know, certain parts of my life will never be what I had dreamed them to be. You know, it's like I wanted to be able to, like, have a kind of relationship with my father where we can go to a game and do stuff like that, but some things are just not possible. Like, if you know how addiction work, and if you know how, like, you know, trauma and shame and guilt and all those things work, it's like until you really like sit with some of that stuff. Like I know some people, they just work so that they don't have to deal with like the stuff that's going on inside. I always say, slow it down enough so you can at least say, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know, am I, moving, according to my values, or am I just doing something for the sake of getting to the next spot? So it's like, for
you're
me,
never really present in your life.
yeah, if you always chasing stuff, you ain't never gonna really be able to deeply engage how you supposed to be able to. So I think for me, it was just understanding, like, I had guilt around going to prison, like putting shame to my name, like my family's name. It was a lot with that. But once I came out and really said, you know what, you can trust me this time, not going back to a cage, not going to get caught up with what's in front of me. I'm doing something different. And I still will fall sometimes and have setbacks and all of that. But, when I got to my like mid-20s, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I see the game now. I see this system was designed to keep me in that cage. And I keep having to live in the hood. And it was just always boundaries and things keeping me down. And I had to just come to grips with, hey, this is what oppression is. This is what I'm faced with. I'm a build my life, but I'm also going to fight. So that's why I'm able to do what I do. No matter how hard you see me fight, whether that's being president of the Minneapolis NAACP or, leading with rep where we answering our own calls, or Humanize My Hoodie, doing that with a childhood friend. Like, we fight in a lot of different ways, but what you don't think about is how well we building. To be able to run like a movement with a friend since 16, come on, how many people get the chance to do that? Like, I teach at Hamlet. I'm able to say, abolish the police, F the police. I ain't gonna say it on your stuff, but I can say it. No, so for me to be able to do that, I had to be at peace with myself, knowing, hey, I'm gonna challenge, this institution, whether that's Humanize My Hoodie, all the things I named, I'm gonna challenge it, but I'm gonna do it in the most loving way. And hopefully we have a transformative experience. So my approach is different in this stuff than other folks. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what allows me to be able to say, we could have a future without cops in cages, because I've been shot. I got caught with a gun. I was in violence. For me to be able to have peace with the people I had issues with, where we was trying to really hurt each other, and we did hurt each other in a lot of ways. It was a lot of violence. For us to be able to sit at a table with each other and just chill and talk and laugh. I could see their kids, they could see mine. No smoke. I know what transformative justice is. So I needed to like sit with myself and say, dang, man, you was known as a drug dealer. I was known as that. Like, even 15 in Chicago, 20 years old, got the jewelry, club night is always a good time. Like, buying everything, and I just wanted to like really like, show people like, I'm not going to do this forever. I'm not going to sell drugs forever. But it took a while for me to really get the shackles off. And you see, I'm still fighting. I didn't get the pardon. They denied me. So I'm still in it through my own personal fights. And then I'm bringing people home. And then, so my pedagogy is just a lot more grounded. So healing yourself means come to grips with the things you've been through. Find a way to find closure around as many of them as you can. That way, when you're walking out here, you don't got a gimmick.
Yeah, you're not operating from a space that's maybe unhealthy.
No,
and unhealed. Yeah.
No, I could show up exactly how I am.
Yeah.
Even when I worked in the mayor's office, I was myself in that role. So it's like, I just don't like, it's still MLK week, so I don't usually use MLK quotes, but definitely he sacrificed a lot for the people. MLK said, I'm not a searcher of consensus. I'm a molder of consensus. That means I'm not waiting for everybody to see what I see. I'm hoping people can mold to it, but I'm not trying to gain consensus. I don't need everybody to believe in abolition. I don't need that. But what I do need is for people to be willing to co-struggle and say, hey, I'm not well today, man. I know I'm supposed to be over there for 4 hours. I don't got it in me, fam. And not be judged as weak, and they couldn't. Yeah. So I think healing myself allowed me to say, no matter what a label somebody put on me, I gotta have my own.
Like, who you are.
Absolutely.
And that's your center.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get to that place. And I released a lot of my information in my book because I was like, I just wanted to get that stuff off my chest. Because it was just, people heard about me getting shot, people heard about me going to prison, and I wrote that book with my daughters in mind. So if I get killed early, at least you know this from my mouth to your ears. So it came from the most sacred place. Like, I'm not bought by, what's in front of me. If I thought like that, I would have never became a professor of criminal justice, because I didn't see that out here. I didn't see people with felonies who've been shot teaching. So I'm somebody who's saying, you know what, I got the vision, I'm going to go for it. If people jump on board, cool. Otherwise, I'm riding by myself. Yeah. Win, lose, or draw, I'm going for it. So it takes a lot of, internal work saying.
Yeah. And I'm hearing so many things.
I know y'all want to jump in.
I know, I'm like,
right?
oh man, I'm in this.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I'm hearing a lot of different pieces, and I don't know how much time today that I feel like you need to come back, because there's a lot that I want to just break down there. But I hear the transformative or restorative transformative piece, which was another thing I learned from both of you that day too, was I hadn't ever thought about the criminal justice system in that way before, and so those three pieces there was really powerful, those examples that you gave me, and so I would like to touch on that too. And then the other part is abolition work or social justice work, or just working humanitarian work, working from your lens and your role and the way that you see fit, and there is no one size fit all or a template of how you ought to be. Right. So I'm hearing a couple of those different things, but I know Kim, you wanted to jump in too. I could see you.
I was just thinking a lot of the things that you said, how we came to interact and how we came to meet. I had gone to a Restorative Justice 101, sort of just like a training through the Minnesota Peacebuilding Institute, just because I was searching. I was looking for something. I was on my own healing journey and saying, I'm not really seeing or feeling things that are being facilitated, or I'm not being helped through this journey here. So I went to that space, learned a lot, and then ended up at the International Restorative Practices Conference several years ago, and you spoke. You were working for the mayor at that time. You talked about your book. And I reached out to Dr. Raj, who was emceeing that event. Shout out to him. And said, who is this person again? And what book did he write? Because I think I want to read that book. And then we connected and somehow just continued to stay connected.
For sure.
You had said, can I come and do, or should I come do a circle in Eau Claire?
Yeah.
And it took some time.
For sure. It's all good.
But that's the beauty of you too, is that patience in that authentic relationship building.
Yeah.
For sure.
I see that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so you ended up coming years later to the house and space that I work at, speaking about the day that we met.
Yeah.
And we had that space. We had people in that room. That was a beautiful space. And I had talked to David Carlson, who you've had on the show, who I love and adore and respect, and said, David, you should come. And he's like, no, I'm going to Rice Lake later tonight, which is my hometown. I grew up in that city.
Also David's hometown too, right?
Also David's hometown too.
Okay.
So then, we
and
traveled
Natasha.
to Rice.
We traveled.
We traveled to Rice Lake.
Rice Lake.
And I'm thinking, you brought us together. We live in the same city and had never met.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about your ability to connect people and build relationships all throughout, whether it was Chicago or Iowa with Andre, or being in Minneapolis, or now doing the work of the Aspiring Abolitionist Institute, which I'm an aspiring abolitionist.
Let's
get that right. I need to put that in there. Right.
Hey, that's real.
I'm learning.
Absolutely.
I'm still learning. And I think it's important for the people who are watching to understand those the criminal justice, restorative justice, and I don't know if one of you can speak to that, and because that was something that was a new concept. Honestly, I'm very brand new into learning more about all this stuff, and that was just something I've never even thought about before in my life. So if one of you,
and I just want to give credit to Rihanna Anthony for giving me this perspective of how to, just really share what criminal justice, restorative justice, transformative justice is. So Rihanna is out of Tennessee, super dope organizer in the movement spaces, and she showed us a diagram that says criminal justice is you harm me, we end up going to court. If I got the better lawyer, I'ma win. If you got the better lawyer, you gonna win. So that's the system we have. One person goes to prison, other person may get some victim services. That's the system. That's criminal justice 101. And we don't have a criminal justice system. We got a legal system. Like I say, the better lawyer is going to win. We know who those big time lawyers are in the Twin Cities. We know in other places as well.
And lawyers are expensive, but
absolutely. Right. So it's a money, poverty, slavery. It's a whole institution on that. So it's no justice in it at all. I know too many survivors that never got justice, never even had their day in court. So for me, I can't rock with the criminal justice system. It's just not for everybody.
And that was what you went to school for too.
Absolutely, that's what I got degrees in. So
inside out.
absolutely, I had to study the system because I needed to know my rights. Yeah. I needed to know what were real rights, because stuff be on paper, but then when you actually challenge it in the court of law, so many loopholes where it's like, oh man, y'all all over the place. It's not united. I don't know what this system is and how to deal with it. That's why so many people end up in prison 80, 90 years, and it's a technicality, bring them home after 50 years. I can't honor the system that's in front of. Look at how many innocent people were almost about to get the death penalty. Think about, come on. And, you know, it's like restorative justice says, you harm me, we can go through a process. It don't got to be beef. And I'm always willing to sit in the circle. So when you saw me with Raj and, you know, James and all my squad, like all NAACP, Anika, Leslie, all the people that was under my leadership, I always said, if I'm the one that's wrong, bring me in the circle. And I do it in front of the whole community. So I've always been like that. You want to hold me accountable? Cool, man. Come on, let's sit down. Let's talk. I don't care if it's 10 people there, 20, 30. You gotta think, I grew up in a gang in Chicago. When you called to come have a conversation,
20, 30 people,
you be there. Yeah, you be there. I mean, my area was 500 strong, so it was like when you called to come be at a meeting, it's like important to be there. So shout out to the Native Americans who you know, founded restorative justice and all the indigenous cultures. There's some African cultures that use restorative practices as well, but you got to be grounded and say, I want to listen to you from the heart, and I want you to hear me from the heart too. So that's
for the individual piece that you need to work on, that healing place, being able to take in some of that information that's being fed to you.
Absolutely, because I can't sit in a circle. I don't want to be working through my trauma while I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
You're not hearing anybody then.
No,
at that point,
of course not. So it's like I got to be grounded enough to let you take shots at me in front of, and that's how I ran my NAACP. You got to think. Very controversial. We fighting against Trump and the Muslim ban. We fighting against everything, police brutality. We fighting against a lot of things. And I would always tell my squad, I can't fight y'all and fight white supremacy. I can't do both. I don't got enough in me. Even when my daughters bother me, hey, look, I can't fight you. I can't fight you and fight white supremacy. Because
you'll lose. Right. That's what you mean, is that you will lose your daughter.
And I ain't trying to take no L. So I always show up. I don't have any yes people around me. So it's like I'm always in a restorative or transformative space. Because I don't have anybody around me that just got to say, yes, Jay, yeah, you right. I don't need people who always going to tell me yes. I need a bunch of no people around me. Like my mom still can call me and say, man, you talking reckless to him right now. You know, like my mom would say, geez, man, slow it down. Yeah, like, so I always have people who can pick up the phone and say, hey, I read your last piece, keep going. A lot of my elders say that to me, and I can hear a lot of the ancestors. You know, it's a lot of people that's allowing me to show up the way I show up. So that's restorative. You heard me, we can go through a process. You might not be ready for that out the gate. It might take, or if you harm me, like I might need 5 months. I might say, no, I ain't talking to Shane for a while. I need a few months. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that wouldn't really happen, though. I just want to make that clear.
This hypothetical.
Yeah. Absolutely a fake scenario. Me and Jason are very close. Right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying. I might say, nah, that was bogus. I need 4 months, man. Give me 4 months. Then I'm ready to sit down with you. And I'm just being hypothetical. I might be ready, you know, out the gate. But it's all hypothetical. There's a process you know that is there for you. Somebody else would facilitate it just so we can hear each other. Not me leading it, not you leading it, but definitely being victim-centered or survivor-centered to where it's like, we know harm happened. I got to hold the person who was harmed like as tightly as I can. They can't get double harmed on my watch. So as a restorative justice person, I cannot bring people to a space and take them further down. So that's how my mentality been since I got trained in 2007. 2008, that's when I took it all across the country.
Which is crazy because that happens a lot. You know, the victim blaming and victim derogation, like there's a lot of that. Sure. And so I love like just the humanization behind what you're saying there.
Absolutely. And it's like, like I say, my practice is from 2008. You got to think I was in California 4 or 5 times a year. From 2008 to like 2013, I was Cali heavy. I was Sacramento, LA, everywhere. You name it, even small towns in California. Like I was going all through there with restorative. I was going to juvenile facilities with young people, talking to them, listening, mainly playing ping pong with kids at the YMCA.
Yeah.
Once I knew restorative justice, I knew a process of we can have time and I can help you grow. It might be us playing this ping pong, but when this ball fall off the table, I might be asking you questions that allow you to like think further into your path.
Yeah.
So once I got grounded in restorative, it was like, because we tried things in Chicago. Like when I was young, all of our meetings was in circle. I'm not going to lie. And this was our gang. You had to stand in a circle. You had to see everybody. And it was like a practice that they got from, people before them. But with the war on drugs, it kind of got all messed up. And the roots of it kind of got tainted. So for me, I know restorative justice from a deep place. I know from causing harm and have to sit down and say, damn, man, my bad for doing that, fam.
There's that accountability piece.
Yeah, and it don't feel good. And it's like you definitely be kicking yourself like, why the heck did I do that? Like, we all human, so we all gonna make mistakes. And when I have those moments, it's like, I got to do this work, man. I got to reach out and let you, check me, say what you got to say. And I always leave room for that. My little brother can call me, do it, my sister, anybody. So I think showing up like that, you can learn restorative, knowing that if somebody crashes into my car, I don't got to think about the criminal justice system. I can be like, oh, I know what I need. They got to fix my car. So somebody talk to them about fixing this. I ain't making no police report. I'm not calling nobody. You hit my car and ran off. This happened, and that's the truth. That happened when I was at a school in 2009. A kid hit my car, young person hit my car, ran off, never came back to school. I said, please tell them I'm not tripping on the car. I'll be okay on the vehicle. I'm willing to say, you did it. You were scared. You a kid. I probably would have did it when I was that age too.
Right.
Just to keep it all the way real. So being restorative means the harm that happens can get addressed some kind of way. I just want people to be patient enough to allow the process because some people want justice immediately. And it's like restorative. You don't know how long it's going to take. We might think we're going to do this for 3 weeks, but we realize we really need 12. So it's emergent, right? It's emergent. It's no one solution that's going to work for everybody. I get calls from people that say, it's like, my cousin, beat me up really bad when we was kids, and I don't think they know the impacts it's having on me. I get calls like that. So it's like, when I know I got to hear these calls, even from people in prison, like I'm about to get into it with some people in here, man, like, do you want to talk to their family? And I got to piece it up. So, it's like being you a better referee when you know restorative justice. You know what I mean? So and I know a lot of people.
I like, because I know you've mentioned this too, is like, what does justice look like for you? And that like individual experience or like their perspective of, this is how I would like to see things and that healing. So there's so many pieces to that I don't know, Kim, if you wanted to speak more about that, but that speaks more like sense into me as a person versus just like, this is a situation that happened and now you're going to be held accountable. It's like punitive almost if you're thinking about it in like the criminal justice system. Yeah. That this is kind of like a punitive measure. In this case, what I'm hearing is there's a healing aspect to it, that there's accountability and kind of how you impacted people and how people have impacted you. And what does that look like for both sides so that you can come to the same table and be okay with what happened. Absolutely. And then move forward in a healthy way. That's what I'm hearing.
And that you're intentional about not causing that double harm that you talked about. Because when you go through the traditional system, right, when you go through the traditional system, when there's a harm that's occurred, as a survivor, you're not even asked, what do you need? You're not asked that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's this, we're going to tell you what's going to happen, and it's about the time or about the punishment, and we're not going to ask you, what do you really truly need to heal? And if you do speak up and say what that is, there's a lot of times a disagreement. This isn't what this system looks like, so we're not built to handle what you actually do need.
And that's why it takes time and energy and effort. So.
Right. And that there is something very different that can be created and needs to be created outside of that system. So that if you do have somebody hit your car, if you think about it, somebody hits your car, you get a ticket, your insurance goes up. There's all of this cost when all that money could have just gone to fix the car.
Which is a
Absolutely.
system. Right.
And-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the transformative piece in it, where it's like, so back to Rihanna Anthony, just giving, flowers to an amazing person. Criminal justice, you heard me, we end up in court, may the best lawyer win. Adversarial system. Restorative says, you heard me, we know the process. We got to figure out how to repair the harm. So when you think of restorative, the focus is repairing the harm. Transformative justice says, you heard me, we can go through a process to be better than we've ever been. Beyond what we even thought. So transformative spaces allow you to say, like, yeah, you hurt me back then, but look at how far we, you know what I mean? Like, and I do that with a lot of people where we've had childhood trauma with each other and stuff. Friends coming home from prison, man, you shouldn't have ran, man. Why would you run and you got the gun on you? Why would you, like, real stuff. And it's like, for us to still be good and they healthy, I'm healthy, like a lot of us didn't make it at that time. So transformative justice says, I know we can be better than we've ever been because I've had time to actually see it happen. Some people ain't, get that time. So transformative justice is rooted in, yeah, harm does happen. Maybe you didn't know better. Maybe you just was in a different space and, you harmed me, just total accident. Or, maybe it was intentional. You felt like, because I've had that. One of my friends set me up with drugs at the height of my activism in 2005. Like, I had met Angela Davis 2004, 2005. I was teaching Freedom School. I was on my path, like, past incarceration, past getting shot. And I was on this journey of activism, like standing up for what I believe. And one of my friends set me back, like, he set me back in life. Like, the police could have killed me. 4 different police departments, helicopters all in the air. And he knew the harm he did to me. I had so much court stuff ahead of me, facing 10 years, all of this stuff. And this somebody I loved, like, dearly. Had his back through whatever, got him his first job out of prison. Well, I could go on and on. Like, his mom loved me, his siblings loved me. And I'm like, what will make somebody do that, man? And I'm like, can I ever forgive that? And he sent a message to me maybe 8 years after he, caused this chaos in my life. He said, I'm hoping if we ever cross paths, you can forgive me. At that time, I'm like, I'm not saying nothing to you because, like, if it was up to you, I'd be dead. So it's like, then I had to think about it. Like, I talk about this stuff, restoring, and you know what I mean? Like, I talk it, right? So I'm like, I got to be able to sit with this. And I had to, like, really come to grips. I talked to therapists about it and everything because I'm like, I don't want to be no hypocrite. Like, but this is like I say, 6 helicopters in the air, 4 police departments. Like, this is documented. You can look up my appeal online. Like, this is all documented. Like, I was on a 53-minute high-speed chase with the police because of my friend, somebody who I was willing to risk it all for. Like, I loved him, like, just genuine love and genuine friendship. So I said, I need to talk to people about this because I'm not ready to talk to him about it. Like, he know what he did. He apologized. I'm grateful for that. But you had me being under the microscope for a lot of years for some shit I didn't even need to be. I was working full-time job, part-time job, had 5 classes that semester, and I was president of the Black students. And you gonna jeopardize everything, get my cars taken, have them run all in my house. People didn't believe me for a number of years. Like, man, you probably was still hustling. I said, like, it was people who questioned my character because they like, man, you say you helping kids, you helping the community, then you get caught with drugs. It's like, this dude quarterbacked this whole situation, took pictures of my house, he created a whole, I couldn't believe that he would work with the police in that way. And my lawyer had to say, Jason, your friend is a confidential, reliable informant. And I said, what? I'm like, how so? They like, he set people up and do this kind of, what? Blew my mind. So when he sent that message, I'm like, you've already been forgiven or else you'd be under the ground, fam. Like, I had to call the wolves off. You know that. And that's maybe why you reaching out because you know you living in fear. He always got to walk in fear. Like, it's like, I'm cool on it. I don't need no conversation. He said if we ever cross paths, I still got the message. He hope I got forgiveness in my heart. It's like, Guess we'll have to see. Because I feel like I do and will. But it's like the height of the harm he caused for my life, I would just be one person who needs to hold him accountable. It seems like he got a trail of devastating lies. I've bounced back. I'm good. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be where I am at this age. It's other people who would need their words with them more so than me. I'm kind of healed from the situation. If I was stuck on it, my life would look different.
Right.
I'd still be lost in it. So the transformative process is difficult, but I think, I would be willing to talk with him. I'm not saying I'm gonna be a friend at the end of it, but I would be willing to sit down and say, you know what, man, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody facilitated that, so like I say, I'm willing to walk it like I talk it. You know what I mean? It's not something I need to keep going, though. You know what I mean? It was a long time I needed a conversation with my father, and I realized he wasn't going to never just really give me what I needed to know. Because I wanted to just ask, did you go through something that we don't know about? Because what you giving me is your worst. And it's consistent. Year after year, you giving me your worst. So I wanted to, say, he could never get to a place where he'd be open to answering from the heart. He just going to make some, try and swag it out, use his charisma, deflect, gaslight.
And that's a very toxic person. I feel like there's differences in, even if you're working on your own issues or your own mental health or your own traumas as a person who's a victim of this kind of a situation, you can only get so far to what you want justice to look like, because it may not be possible, right?
Absolutely.
Because they're not able to work through what they're needing to work through in order for you to see that come to fruition.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. And so maybe justice does look a little bit differently at the end of the day for you, and you can come to accept that part of things, and hopefully they'll never be in your life again in that way. But toxic people and toxic situations, you can't fix them. You can't help them with what they need to get, obviously fixed. But you can forgive them and be able to move forward in a healthy way and not stay stuck in that, And so,
Absolutely.
And having some of that healing be letting go of the expectation that relationship with whomever it might be, a child, a parent, a neighbor, a co-parent, that it may never be what you had hoped or you thought it was going to be. So
that's part of your healing journey.
Letting go of that expectation, because that's your expectation of them.
Exactly.
And you can set. And the thing about restorative and transformative, you define the terms. It comes from the person that was harmed. So this is so what I'm offering up is something way better than what you get if you call 911. You know what I mean? It's just a fact. You call 911, you don't know who this person is. You don't know if they hyped up. You don't know if they just left another call. You don't know if they're in a calm space,
or even if
space.
They're well educated about the situation that's at hand. If it's mental health related or otherwise,
So now you got this person showing up and you don't know what you're gonna get. At least now we experiment saying we can solve for up to domestic dispute. We can't handle DV yet. But we're going to keep working so that we can respond to those DV calls where it's like, hey, I'm in here. This person is tripping. Please come. We want to be able to serve for that. But we teaching other people, how do you show up for somebody where you know what you're going to get? And if you need somebody with a firearm, what does it look like to have a licensed social worker who's also licensed to carry? So we way more creative. We figuring this stuff out. That's why I believe in abolition, because it's like, I know in my personal life how I solved stuff. I know how I healed from stuff, how I was honest about stuff. You got to think, before George Floyd got killed, nobody was believing my stories about the police. And I told them all over the country, Pennsylvania, they like, oh my God, they did that? They choked you? And I got plenty witnesses. Like I told you about them club nights, 200 people outside, we all leaving. I just had an amazing time in the club. I'm the one thrown down, pepper sprayed, handcuffed. And it didn't matter where I was, St. Paul, it didn't matter where I was clubbing, passing through Iowa, I always came back to, you know what I mean? Chicago, same treatment. They feel like since I'm a leader, it's like set an example on one of the leaders. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the most upstanding person. I sell drugs. I look like a drug dealer. I'm going to be totally honest. The jewelry and all that, I should not have been doing all of that. The cars, I shouldn't have. People who are poor, when they get to a place where they feel like they got something, it's just in my own experience. I wanted to show it. I wanted to shine. I wanted to be like, you know what I mean? Like, and that got me a lot of attention for the police and a lot of trauma. Like, I tell the story of them throwing my clothes in the snow and pissing all over them, telling me, now clean that shit up. Like, and it ain't just police officers. It's probation officers. It's correctional officers. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say I'm not for what's in front of me. Like, I know that's not the right thing. If people coming home after 30 years and they innocent, that should tell you. Even with having a death penalty, you know our court system ain't that solid to be able to determine whether somebody needs to die. Mm-hmm. It ain't solid enough to prove that at this point. So it's like, if we know what's in front of us is really not working for the bulk of us. It's working for wealthy white men at the end of the day. So it's like, you think about all the people who saying now, I'm investing in abolitionist frameworks. Mm-hmm. You got to think the American Public Health Association said, we investing in abolitionist frameworks. Colin Kaepernick doing all this abolition. Ava DuVernay, abolitionists. Like, we pretty strong, and I think people just don't really understand what's ahead the next 4 or 5 years. So for us, we could see a world free from cops and free from cages, because if you trained in de-escalation and you understand how to show up for me if I'm in a tough situation, and I can get 4 or 5 more people like you, I don't have to think about a 911. It's like, Shane ain't answering. Okay, cool. I got this person. I got this person.
And you don't need to show up in like military looking type. So like, I'm hearing like so many pieces of this that I want to pounce on, but
let's do it.
There's that preventative piece. So for me, as I'm going through my journey and learning more, and I remember texting both of you at the same time, and David and Natasha, and I was so emotional. I was actually crying. Remember how exhausted I was that day? I was actually crying because I realized that so many things as I grew up were things that like I was taught to like have it be normalized. So like when you're in trouble, well, safety is calling the police so that you can feel safe that somebody's going to come in and protect you. And so for me, in terms of how I see like abolition work for my specific role, is that I'm a social worker wanting to help with that mental health piece and wanting to help with those preventative measures so that people don't ever get into a place where they're so hurt that they're hurting others, right? So that's like kind of a piece that I'm hearing too, is that preventative piece. And then
some people call it harm reduction.
Yes, actually, yes, that's a concept there. So that harm reduction, or like causing no harm. I always say I'm like a zero harm person if I can be that. And then the other piece that I'm hearing also is that, well, when that does happen, what can be done so that there's that rehabilitative part to that and that redemption piece to that too. And then, so I feel like I'm still learning so much about abolition work and kind of how that fits into my role and stuff. But that's some of the stuff that I've been able to take away as I've been learning more about what that means to me. So, and
that's why I'm doing this institute. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this work. It's for people who just want to learn more about abolition. So that's why I'm going to have symposiums, classes throughout the region, So I think it was you got to think Harriet Tubman, she made it clear she's not trying to make the plantation better. She was an abolitionist. She no person should own another person. And Turner Hall was built on the notion that we believe that no person should own another person. Things just morphed. Brian Stevenson said it best. Slavery never ended. It morphed and changed. And
now it's mass incarceration.
Yeah, it just got disguised differently. Not even mass incarceration. Like going to prison is one thing. I got 12.5 cents an hour when I was in prison. And I got caught with something that could fit in your hand. It ain't even something small enough to show what I got caught with. But, and not to minimize the harm of this. You know what I'm saying? This is drugs. I'm wrong. I'm hurting the community. I understand all of that. This is my exit strategy right here, though. They come to my hotel. I don't even fight it. You got me. Red-handed. I got the drugs on me. 18 grams, I believe. 20 grams of crack cocaine. I'm wrong. I know I deserve a punishment. This is my mentality, because I needed a consequence just to keep it 100 with you. I didn't need a punishment. I needed a consequence where I could be held accountable for my actions, but I don't got to go through that slave part, shackled. All of us, we black. Minneapolis and St. Paul together, everybody black. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking like, it's people like, Jay, I'm really innocent, man. You know I didn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know you. You the scariest person I know. But they going because police snatched them up. They said something they shouldn't have said. Even though I know they not the one who really caused that harm. Now we don't know the laws. We all on this ride to a place where we got to spend years. 12.5 cents an hour for 4 months. And everything on the canteen costs a lot of money. That creates an underground economy in and of itself. So it's like, even what you think you getting when you call the police, even if you think that's good enough and what we should have, it really ain't. Putting somebody in a cage does not make them come out like, yes, let's have a tea party and let's just,
I've learned,
come on, man. That's not how we learn from our mistakes. Like, learning from our mistakes means sitting in it. Because, look, you snatched me away from the community, send me to prison, right? I never really had a chance to tell the community I apologize. Because that was in my heart. I never was a drug dealer where it's like, yeah, I sell drugs, everybody, y'all. No, I'm ashamed of this. And once I figure my stuff out, even at 15, I would say this. I'm not doing this forever. At 20, I'm not doing this forever. When I found college, that's when I had the restorative piece. I was able to learn in abnormal psychology. I was able to take a philosophy course. And I'm like, you don't know Martin Luther King or Malcolm X philosophy? And my teacher he's a smart person. Like, shout out to Mark Matthews, man, because we used to battle. You know what I mean? Like, he's one of the hardest professors at Metro State ever. And getting him to be transformed by my stuff was important. I'm not just going to look at Kant and Weber and all of those, Greek philosophers. You got to come to my world. You got to understand what my life like. So all my criminal justice classes, I was just in there arguing with the professors. Like, so you got to think I had a gangs course. And I'm sitting in the gangs course like, man, you got to be kidding me. Like, and it was with the chief of police who had investigated me when I was younger and all kind of stuff. So I had a dichotomy where I was like in another world. I'm in class with a bunch of future cops and I'm radical. Fred Hampton shirts every day, Rosa Parks. Every day I wore somebody. And it was like a thing, because everybody be looking like, who we got on today? Or I might have a Hurricane Katrina survivor on my stuff. Sitting in class. Like, what we talking about today? You talking about probation? Well, guess what? I'm still on parole.
I have lots of experience, and I can teach this class, actually.
Man, come on. So, once I found college, I realized that's what I really needed. You find your tribe. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you need ways to find your tribe. Being at college allowed me to develop my leadership. Like I said, I became president of the Black students. That alone allowed me to go from being a gang leader to, oh, yeah, we could fight against the administration. Yeah, that editorial board, they seem racist, man. They got an all-white construction crew in here. Let's make sure they get them out. It was easy for me to see the problems and say, oh, if we fix this, of course more Black students going to stick around. Retention rates gonna go up. I could draw the correlations a little bit better. So college is what I need. I needed a place to like exercise some of leadership in different ways, and that's what transformed my entire life. Because if you look at what's happened since then,
access to resources and education, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so that's why abolition is very
right.
right.
So like that's and again, I think this might be good for people who are listening who's like very, very new to just the word abolition.
For sure.
Abolitionist. Like, how would you describe that to somebody who's never heard of it, doesn't know anything about it? Because we've talked about it for a while now. And I don't think, I think it's just kind of, I know you see it the way that you see it and the way that you can define it. But how would you define that?
Well, I will point to Miriam Kaba. In her book, We Do This Till We Free Us, I think it's page 155, if I'm not mistaken. She said, as an abolitionist, I care about two things. I care about my relationships and how we reduce harm. So just to make it simple, like if I deepen my relationships, the social workers I know, the people I know who come home from prison, all my former students, I can look at different pods of my life and say, oh, okay, I need people. That's why I'm doing this institute. Y'all gonna be able to meet so many more new, amazing people on this journey. That's what I need to do. My relationships.
Like a network.
Absolutely. You need to meet some of these people I rock with in Duluth or the people I rock with in Chicago. And like I say, we could span it all across the country, because I got some people in Hawaii who are abolitionists, and they doing some amazing stuff.
So
and
we're all taking a trip to Hawaii.
Hey, you go to Hawaii.
I
got the network for you. I mean, I trained in Hawaii 2014, I want to say. I never seen that much water. You got to think I spent a lot of time in prison. From 97 all the way to 2016, it's either been incarcerated in a facility, on probation, on parole, something. 97 all the way to 2016. So for me, I wasn't able to take no trip like that. And I'm getting paid too. I got a rental when I get there. I'm like, I'm there 4 days doing restorative justice work. And when I came there to do that RJ work, once I walked into space, they put one of those leis around my neck. And they like, welcome into the space. I was like, oh my God, I never had a welcome like that. And it's a thing to do that. And I got a cold one. I should have brought it. Like, I got to start carrying. And I got another one that was, it was like charcoal. Like every piece of the lei, it's like it was grounded and worked. And every piece, and when they put that, it was so some abolitionists, Cat Brady, a guy who just came home from 35 years in prison, they took me to the tough parts of Hawaii in Honolulu. And we got a picture of it too, ACLU. I brought a solid group of people together. And when they put that one on my neck, I was like, oh my God, this thing just feels totally different. I've had experiences that have allowed me to create experiences for other people. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does.
And that's what I needed. I didn't need a cage. Being able to go to Hawaii and see outside my room, and I looked, I had never seen that much water in my life. Never. I tell y'all, the hotel I stayed at so y'all could get the visual. They set me up nice, man, and they put me up high so I could have this view. And I was like, I've never seen this much water in my life. I never dreamed that I could go to Hawaii because, you got to ask a PO. I got to ask a PO. I had work in Canada. They wanted me to come do some work in Canada, restorative justice work for 3 days. And I couldn't even do it because I probably wouldn't have made it across the border. Like, it's people who got driving tickets who can't get into Canada. So with me with 3 felonies, probably never be able to see, and that's just the reality. So it's slavery. Like, and not to say that I haven't been involved in violence, because I have. Like, I have been in fights since childhood, elementary school, all of that. I've been in stuff. For me to have to still go through stuff from the system, it's like, I've done all this work. I've done everything I could. If I can't get a pardon, I don't know a lot of other people, and it's a lot of amazing people around me. I don't know how they gonna get it either. So I gotta fight with my story and all the stuff I go through just to help take us further as far as the culture goes. Because people think they get justice when they can call 911, but if you really think about what you get, you got to think about the Brock Turner case. He sexually abused somebody who was passed out by a trash can, fam. Like, how you only get 4 months or 6 months in jail? How? Come on, man. Like, that girl had to live through so much, man. Like, that report, I saw that report. And then she had to sit up there and get ridiculed. Being called all kind of, man.
A lot of harm.
Yeah.
So it's like when people do call 911, they don't think, man, you really don't understand what you're getting out of that. So as an abolitionist, I'm saying, I care about my relationships. Let's figure this out because we're going to harm each other, man. It happens. Like, even if it's the most unintentional, like, I could have an interaction with somebody and they say, man, I felt like you was dismissing what I was talking about. Even though I don't feel that, they might feel that. I got to sit with it. But I'm clear. I'm not going to spend 6 hours talking about this because I don't feel like I harmed you, but I'm willing to be held accountable.
Right.
And I'm willing to apologize if it's in order. So I think people opening themselves up to say, if and when you harm me, like, either you don't return my call or you dismiss something I wanted you to do or whatever it may be, it got to be a space where you can say, hey, that really, hit me. You probably don't feel like it hit me that way, but it hit me that way. If we have more of that, we can reduce the harm. But so many people quick to dismiss a complaint where it's like, oh, no, that ain't happened. Go ahead. Even if I don't agree with you, I'm still willing to sit down and set a standard of, okay, can we solve this in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or is it an hour? Because I don't want to feel like I'm rushing you off. If you already felt like I hurt you, if I'm setting a standard on a time, like 34, you might feel like I'm causing further harm. But I'm really saying I don't have 2 days to go round and round with this, but I do care that you felt that way. Hopefully, usually we solve it in 10, 15.
Somebody, and you're providing them like that validity in how they're feeling.
Absolutely.
I think like a lot of this work isn't really like necessarily anti anything, although I know that there's affiliation with that. I think it's really
anti-police brutality.
Human.
I'm anti-police brutality. Yeah. So I'm not looking at individual cops. I'm looking at the institution of police, and the whole thing is trash.
But you're pro-human though. Like you're promoting human beings as individuals.
And I'm helping people get their autonomy back. There's some things you could do really well to de-escalate somebody. There's some things I can do really well. The thing with abolition, people think like it's gonna be like the apocalypse because we taking police off and people just running around here and it's like that's so far from the reality. What we saying is, okay, you got your pod. It might be people, you're an alumni group from high school or college. This a pod for you, one of your places. Then it's like you got your family pod. Y'all cool. Sometimes y'all beef. Like every family goes through different things. You think about all the pods you got. If you train everybody in de-escalation. Because it's like, how do you like to be de-escalated? I know how I like to be de-escalated where it's like, if you see me going higher, it's like, what do you do to bring me back down? You know what I mean? And it's easy for me. It's like, hey, no, chill out, man. That's not what they saying, or they not doing. Then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But we all got like things we need to happen to be de-escalated. So I think starting there is important, where you ask everybody like, how you like to be de-escalated? How do you like to be de-escalated? Like even with that sports stuff, I've seen people with the paint on their face and all that, they ready to fight somebody who likes a different team. I've seen that energy. I always think in my mind where it's like, I know I'm gonna say, hey, it's just a game. I know you want to fight me and you got that team loyalty and that team pride and you just want to hurt me because I got on this color and stuff. I always know some things I can say, fam, it's just a game. That might make somebody at least say, oh, hell yeah, I'm tripping. like it's just a game. Like, I don't know this team. I don't know the owners. I don't know the players or nothing. I'm ready to kill.
It's serious, but not that serious.
Yeah. So how do you de-escalate? Yeah. So I think people just need more skills. I think if we get more skills, use more skills.
Well, that's again, access to education.
Absolutely.
And, there's so many components to this as well. And Kim, you mentioned earlier about the Institute of Aspiring Abolitionists, and that's something that you're working on right now.
For sure.
I think it was 60 days. You're trying to raise $100,000, which you did, right?
Everybody did.
Well over $100,000, right? Pledged. By I don't know how many backers, but quite a few backers.
694. Yeah. I mean, it's important to know how many people backed and who backed. I don't want to run across somebody who backed me. I will feel bad. I didn't know. You know what I mean? So that's just a personal thing to know all of the people. But yeah, 60 days. It was a challenge. It was a risk. And I was willing to fail too, though. It's like, it ain't no guarantee.
You were like all or nothing. It wasn't.
It's an all or nothing campaign.
You were an all or nothing campaign.
I mean, I've had worse odds in my life. I'll just say that. So I just felt like it was time to do something bold. It was a lot happening in Minneapolis around Yes for Minneapolis, and different mayoral campaigns was going on. And I just felt like it was important to kind of run my own campaign and say what I want to say at this time. And in 60 days, I did so many vlogs. I made so many phone calls. I did so much work in that time, but it allowed people to be hopeful. That's one thing I saw that I really didn't plan for. I just wanted to see if people would be down with this vision. And now I get a chance to actually facilitate it and go, like I say, go throughout the region and do stuff like this where it's just educational.
Yeah.
We learning, we talking, we growing together. So I'm grateful to do it and create a year-long project where you're going to learn a lot. And we got the underground website too, you know what I mean? So hopefully you got in there and checked it out.
I wanted to talk. So for this the school of abolitionists, can you just kind of talk through some of those pillars and what it's about and what can we expect, and how can we learn more about it, get involved?
I think the main thing you're going to learn is you're going to draw connections from the past to present. I think that's difficult for a lot of people to see because people always like, man, we came so far. We had a black president and you see Kamala's in there and people hit me with that stuff all the time, and then I have to always say, but the conditions they not changing. You know what I mean? I'm looking around. Who's dying from COVID at higher rates? Like any quality of life standard across this whole nation, who's getting it the worst? So as an abolitionist, I can really challenge anti-blackness. I really can, because the institution of policing, all of that derived from slave patrols. So it's only right. We thought the Emancipation Proclamation allowed slaves to be free and can chart their own course. But then we got hit with the black codes. Then it was like Jim Crow South. Then it was like we can't vote. It was like all of these things, and that's well into the 60s. So it's like we make progress. Voting Rights Act, all of these things. What happens in the 80s? War on drugs. So it's like, for me, I can teach from so many different levels. I could teach from a personal perspective. I can use Derricka Purnell's book, Become an Abolitionist. Say, all right, 7 weeks. Y'all read, have y'all stuff all the way read. We jumping on the Zoom these weeks. And I think I might have some dates on the website already, because it's going to start, one class starting in April. Well, 2 classes starting in April, using Colin Kaepernick's book and using Derricka Purnell's book, Different Days. And Prison by Any Other Name, Just Mercy, New Jim Crow. I might just pick one day and say, hey, if you read the New Jim Crow, why don't you hop on this Zoom? We on here 2 hours.
So there's that educational piece to
absolutely,
all of this.
Absolutely. Because I'm a dude like I'm really a professor. I know it's hard for people to understand that. Like, 'cause I don't look like most professors. I don't act like,
we're in class right now.
Right, right.
I've been asking for a syllabus since you've gotten here. Yeah. And I haven't received it.
If I go to my car, I'll pull out my syllabus, even from this semester. I'm using the book Sparked. It's called Sparked, George Floyd, Racism, and a Progressive Illusion. And the artwork on it is dope, man. You see the backdrop of Minneapolis on it. But a lot of us abolitionists wrote in that book. That's the book I'm using this semester. I used it last semester. I get to use it this semester. It's not difficult for me to use that same syllabus, that same template, and say, all right, y'all want to learn with this book? Let's just go ahead and plan these dates out. Do y'all reading? I ain't gonna destroy you with the homework, but I do I do got to give you homework to make sure it's going from theory to real life application. So that's the only reason I give homework, so you can take it from here and bring it here.
Like, you learned it, you can analyze it, and you can apply it.
Yeah.
And some of the beauty of that, I think, too, is then you're in that space. If you're doing a Zoom or whatever it is, you're in that space going, wait, okay, you're over here in North Dakota, or you're over here in Chicago, or you're over here in Duluth, or you're up in you're experiencing that too. Or what are you experiencing? This is what we're experiencing over here. How did you create a solution for that? Or what are you all doing over there? And it's that network and connection that I think is so powerful.
Absolutely.
That's been what's powerful for me.
Yeah.
That's real.
Like, I feel like anyone who knows me, I always say my entire purpose in life, and I say it like kind of as a joke, but it's like social worker, social activist, social butterfly. But really the deepest core in all of that is human connection.
Absolutely.
I want to connect with people and then connect them to one another and create a network.
Absolutely.
And that's really what I'm seeing abolition work being is coming from that really healed and holistic place, but still being learning, and I'm seeing how other people are doing things from all over the world, and you can't do that without that trust building and that relationship building.
Absolutely. So, that's why I try and tell people without going too deep, but it's like when you think about the whole essence in life, it's like, why are we really here? Like, that could be a whole full day podcast.
That's another syllabus.
Absolutely. But I always got to remind people, we not here for these titles. We not here for these particular brands. We not here to be put in these boxes. And we not here for that. That's what people who were placed here start doing. 40 hours a week work schedule. It's a 24-hour cycle. And people put this together so we can undo some of these things and create our own. Because at this point, we gotta really build webs for survival at this time. Come on, man. There's people dying. There's people we seeing a lot of stuff in this country. We seeing all the president stuff, the disapproval rates, we getting hit with so many things. Schools, teachers striking. We see so many different things. If we don't really think about our survival network, how are we really holding each other down? How do we really make sure everybody's okay? Because the people I see incarcerated, a lot of times they needed something and they had an unmet need and they did something that they shouldn't have done. Sometimes it's really heinous. How do we still love them back into the community? You gotta, I'm really, I always tell people I'm a formerly incarcerated abolitionist. So that means when I was in prison, we had to figure out our stuff. Because guess what? If I fight you today, I'm going to see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. We're not going nowhere. So for me, I've never had, in prison, you can lock in. That's the best thing you can do. Locking in means I'm scared that somebody going to jump me or rape me or do something to me. So I need to lock in solitary confinement. That's not really help. You know what I mean? Like, you go in there, you come out, your name pretty much screwed for your whole bit. Like, you known as the person that checked in. So it's like, for me, I've always had to figure out solutions where it's like, I don't like y'all don't like me, but I'm trying to get through my time. How y'all trying to get through y'all's? Because I ain't trying to bang with y'all every day. So do we need to bang one time and be done, get it out of our system? Or are we going to let these little nuances, somebody saying something, spark something where we trick off all our time? So because I had never really had a number to call, even when you got to think in Chicago, I'm 10, my sister 13, this guy's trying to talk to her who 19 and stuff. I'm the safety plan for this situation. I'm going to make sure you're not getting pregnant. I'm holding this down. You know what I mean? Like, my sister's a beautiful person, man, inside and out. So I'm like, at a young age, I had to think. My mom, when I was 10, my mom was 26. We don't got no man around here. My father too far in his addiction. Her brother is in prison. My uncle went to prison at 12 and came home when he was 18. So this ain't just a topic for me. I know solid networks of people who've been in prison, who've caused harm, but who are now back saying, hey, I'm about to make a difference in here. Like, and people don't know the statistics. People just think because somebody might have done some really bad violence that they just always like that. And it's like, they usually the person that's never going to do something. And the research shows that, like, people who've committed murder are least likely to offend on any level. Not just for murder, again, on anything. And people don't know that because they be in their mind like, no, if you kill somebody, no, you just a killer. And it's like, nobody's one thing. We all like, yeah, I'm an abolitionist, but come on, I'm an author, I'm a trainer, I'm a father, husband. I got all these different titles. But as an abolitionist, I'm saying I'm committed to a journey of figuring out how do we solve our issues without thinking about 911 in a cage. I know we can do it. What does it really look like? Because I never had the option to call nobody. So it's like, I've always lived in this place of abolition. I call the police. They probably take me to jail. I've seen that. So I got to be an abolitionist. And it's like, it's people before me who really saw a world where, people weren't being exploited, because the people in prison, usually they got a mental illness. Juvenile facility, adult. Usually, a
lot of things that were not addressed.
Yeah.
Or are not going to be addressed.
And how do you not have that coming out? How do you not have that trauma coming out of a space that is not built to be therapeutic? So we use the space as a place to have people to sort of get rid of the problems that we don't want to deal with in society.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is the most inhumane space that we could put people and then say we're doing something to create a better or safer community, and it's just not the case.
Yeah, so at least abolition gives us something we can actually build.
Yeah.
So Ruth Wilson Gilmore said, abolition is about building life-affirming institutions. And a lot of abolitionists will tell you, like, the criminal justice system is a death-making institution. It kills people. It kills people. And you got to think 90% of the people in prison going to come home someday. Most of them coming home. So just because you separate me from what I did, like I said, I went to prison I had a 40-month sentence. I got caught with drugs. I went in at 21. I came home when I was 24. So for me to go out like to a prison, come back, what do you think that really solved for me? I went to prison because I sold drugs for money. Like, my thing was a money issue. Like, I'm poor. Like, this seems like it's viable, or I got to work at this dead end job getting $9 an hour.
Well, people are getting like punished for like a symptom of something deeper,
Absolutely.
instead of actually addressing what that deeper core need is and helping them meet those needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It ain't even like the system has, you got to think about all these people who benefit from quote unquote crime and harm. Just look around. That's what they really worried about, man. Like, it's always some people you can exploit. That's the bad thing. Like, capitalism says it's going to be a top and it's going to be a bottom. It's easy to just snatch the people from the bottom. And that's what's been happening. So I'm saying, man, if I had all of this stuff like Uber and technology and like phones and stuff when I was growing up, I would have never like went down a drug route. I was smart in school. I never failed a class in high school. I was captain of my basketball team. So how did I end up in prison? Like, I'm at all the parties. Everybody know I'm at the 21 plus club when I'm 16. Might want to edit that, but
You're
I was
just super
hey,
cool.
Hey, I was kicking it.
You can edit that and just say Jason was just super cool.
No, I was kicking it, but I never failed a class. I ran in Drake relays my senior year. Like, committed to a track, something I never even tried before. And I worked, jobs throughout high school, real jobs, paid taxes, all of that. So for me to end up in a cell, I always was questioning, like, wait, hold on, man. I'm one of the only people in here that got a high school diploma. You think I can't notice that? Like, what, you got the 10th grade? Are you in a GED program? I can see this, so I'm already like, wait, hold on a second. I did all of this where I played 4 years of basketball, 2 years at Dunbar. And Dunbar hoops. Dunbar's like reputation for hooping. And to go to Iowa to another strong program. We went downstate. We got third in the state. I don't know if we got cheated, but we need to bring that footage back out so we can have a conversation. Because, I don't know. We was definitely the best team in the state.
We're doing so much work today. We have so many
things. Right. So I think we got the power to really have our autonomy to say, okay, if Kim's in an unsafe situation, you the first call, you the second call, you the third call. You know what I mean? Like, let's figure it out. I think we look to Oakland and look at MH1. It's all women. They ride in an RV and they ready to take calls. They don't have badges and guns and all that. They just ready to show up and help people. So I think because we've been the referees, the healers, we just didn't have all those titles. Because when I went to school, I didn't even know criminal justice was a topic. I was like, I said, wait, my advisor, shout out to Eve Nichols, because I gave all of them hell because I was just so complex. Like, they like, man, you be in a club, you got into a fight. One time I came back to school, I had glass in my hand, and I'm still trying to act normal and stuff. Like, I'm typing with my left hand. I'm a lot. I had a lot going on, at 25 and 26 years old. And it was always people that was patient with me in that. So Eve Nichols was like, Jason, you already got a year and a half in, and you pretty much finished your associates. She said, you taking so many classes. I was taking 4 classes, 5 classes. I graduated in 3 years. I got all my 120 credits in 3. I wasn't playing. Like, I was just manic about it. I'm studying criminal justice because she was like, you got to pick a major. And I'm like, what you got, man? Because I didn't know what I was going to go for. I didn't know if I could make it 2 years. Really that self-esteem. I'm in college. They all young and stuff. I'm like, I've been to prison. I don't talk like them. I don't give my presentations like them. They're a little bit worried about saying something. I'm not. You know what I mean? So it was like all of this stuff. And when she said you could study criminal justice, I said, so what I do after that? I'm like, can I go to law school? Can I go? I wanted to go to law school. So I was going to get a 4-year degree and go to law school. That became the plan after talking to Eve. And a lot of them, man, I can't just say Eve. It was so many people that gave me the game on what I should do next. Because once I blew through the criminal justice program. One of my classes was corrections. It's like, this is an easy A for me. I've been in prison. I know all about corrections. And they like, yeah, see, when you in prison, it's an underground economy. I'm just sitting there like, this is a waste of my time. Right. But I'm going to get this easy A so that I can possibly take it to the next level. So I think for me, college was patient. College was what I needed at a young age because that's where the resources were. One semester I won like $7,000 in scholarships. I was going for a bunch of them. Like, I just kept applying. And, I reached my goal. And raised like 7 G's just on, and I got Aretha Clark King. So let me just say this: Aretha Clark King was an amazing black woman. I won that award. I also got a NAACP, was it? Urban League. Urban League, I won one of their scholarships, and it was another one. When I got the money, man, it's like I don't always know what to do with that. I bought a nice car. I threw speakers in that joint, man. I came on campus, man. Boy, you heard that bass? It was like, get in. Come on, man. We kicking it, man. Let's go. I'm just young, single, got a townhouse. I'm far from a cage. And I just want to kick it and celebrate like that and stuff. But going back, I obviously would change some things around. But I think college is what I needed. Prison was not it. So now I talk to kids about it from how they can receive it. Like, even my daughter, she's 14. I'm like, what college you going to, fam? Like, I made her do a report. I paid her. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep it real. Like, if she take the time, I say, I need your top 5 colleges. This was last summer. It's a pandemic, all of that. And I was shocked by the colleges she put on there. And I was just like, wow, she had 2 HBCUs on there. She had, like, Stanford on there. And I'm like, you really, because I wanted her to look at the programs and see what they offer and look at all the stuff. What kind of support will you have? And give me a PowerPoint presentation. Just that alone allow her to see it and say, yeah, I can go to a college, but what if I'm somebody who can make it without college? Because she at that place where she just questioning life, questioning everything. I got to be flexible, even though it's my daughter, and I can say, no, you taking your butt. I can do that, but I got to be flexible in all my relationships because I'm trying to tear down patriarchy too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I got to constantly relinquish power. So
it's a lot of like relearning. It goes back to like reconditioning, relearning, but then like individualizing that human person for what, how they want to live their life. And so,
absolutely.
I mean, honestly, I feel like you need to come back because we need to do like a whole like 10 episode series or more. You can just stay here in Eau Claire and we can continue to film content and like.
But look, this is something I wanted to talk about with Eau Claire because I thought about it when I was driving here. So this is one thing that probably needs to get discussed, and I don't know why I haven't remembered this before. But one time, me and my family was driving to Chicago for the holidays. I think it might have been in November sometime. Well, it could have been in December, but more than likely it was in November. Driving past Eau Claire, you know what I'm saying? The car's loaded up, the trunk got stuff in it, both my babies in the back, my wife to the side, we riding. I see this guy over the highway. This is Eau Claire. He's over the bridge or whatever. I see him. I ain't thinking nothing. Cool. Like, clock if you need to. I ain't over. And I drive over. It's like, I'm gonna keep it all the way real. Sometimes I do go over that limit because that stuff is.
Nobody
that's a whole
does that
nother
in Eau
system
Claire.
anyway. That's a whole nother system, like that speed trap type stuff. But I drove. They pulled me over anyway. He stayed on top of the bridge. He said he clocked me from up there, but they had somebody under the overpass who pull us over. He pulled me over. And he was like, you know why I stopped you? I'm like, no, I really don't. He said, we doing a drug interdiction right now. So we pulling cars over right now. This Eau Claire. And I probably got some kind of documentation on this. I said, drug interdiction, what you mean? He said, and I know what that is because I studied criminal justice, so I know what it is. He said, we trying to stop drugs coming from Minnesota to Chicago. Anybody who know about drugs know, come on, man. You ain't bringing the drug. Like, it's a cheaper price in Chicago, obviously. Like, it's a huge market in Chicago. So when he said he doing a drug interdiction, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, take my license. And she was like, he took my license. And, of course, it say felonies on there. It say drugs and guns. Like, that's what's on my record. He go back. He comes back over to the car. He says, you mind if I search the vehicle? I said, absolutely, I mind. I do not consent to a search. I know what to say. I know exactly what I need to say in those moments. So that's why I say you got to learn your rights. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I do not consent to a search. He said, well, are you okay with me running a dog around the car? Now, legally, you can't stop that. I know this. That's why I say I studied the system for moments like this. I said, you know you can do that. Like, even if I say I don't consent to it, he was going to say, well, I'm getting a dog anyway. And I had to say to him, I said, hey, look, you got to understand this is a rental too. So, like, if you trying to run a drug thing and figure out what hits on this, I'm driving this rental. I don't know who had this thing. He ran a dog around the car, and he was like, you good to go, man? I'm like, man, shut up, man. Let me get on my... That was just a whole waste of time, a whole waste of resources. You stop in any car you want to stop. Like I say, that was right here in Eau Claire. You got to think how many times I passed through Eau Claire coming from here to Chicago. I moved to Minnesota in 97. I never stopped going back and forth to see my family. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful I knew the law because I think about all those people who got stopped right here who didn't know to say, a drug interdiction, that word interdiction can throw you off and make you feel like it's more pressure to this stop too. I was poised enough to say, oh man, I ain't letting you, like, I'm not getting out this car for a search. And if you do that, you're going to have to get a warrant. See, I know to say, the only way you getting in this car is with a warrant. And I have to be willing to sit there for an hour, 2 hours, but I'm going to make sure I reach out to my people and say, they got me on the side of the highway while they get a judge to justify why they need to go in my trunk. But it's so many people that pass through here
that don't know.
Y'all should see how many drug interdictions they've run here. That's one of my experiences here. So it's like, I think even the way we view the system and we see them having cars pulled over and, you know, they get all the hero stories and all of that. Think about how many stories you've seen where it's like, it shocked you. George Floyd shocked a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Didn't shock me. Didn't shock me one bit. It just made people say, oh, I get why you fight the way you fight. Mm-hmm. I get why you say what you say about police. Because I thought people understood with Philando. 4-year-old baby in the back. People didn't get it then. So it's like, Philando, you saw him get killed without a gun. Now you like, oh my God. And it's like, for me, it's like, man, what have I been telling you we went through in the 80s? What did I tell you about the 90s? Yes, I'm no angel. I've been wrong. But what they was doing to us, dropping us off, guns to our face, like, I got stories on stories about interactions with the police. Philando was pulled over 54 times. I got some white friends who've never been pulled over. So that lets you know the height of why I'm an abolitionist. Because if it ain't working for everybody, we're not talking about true democracy.
Do you think things are different now because of what happened with George Floyd? Do you see that like it's more important now more than ever maybe to be looking at this kind of...
I've never seen this much support for people in prison. I've never, like, of course, it's different, but we got a long way to go. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of energy. For sure, it was a lot of energy once he got killed. It was a lot of energy at that point to tear down systems. Like, everybody was saying, yeah, we divested from police. You got to think the U of M divested from the police. It was a lot. Parks and Recs, I think they divested from police. It was a lot of divestments initially when George Floyd got killed, where people said, we not giving y'all no more money. Yeah. The thing is, over time, because police got so much PR and National Night Out and all of these things that they do where they like kissing babies and all of this stuff, you kind of forget what happened to George. Like it just happens. Like kids back in school, your life is changing with all that. You kind of forget what actually happened. So for me, it was like, I'm never going back to talking about reforming the police or training the police. In that moment, when I saw what happened, like 9 minutes, and people telling you, hey, you finna kill him, like, and you still do that, you throw his body in the ambulance, then you at the hospital waiting for him to show up. So it was hard, but I think Minnesota is setting a standard for prosecuting cops. I mean, if you look at Kim Potter, if you look at... if you look at Chauvin, I mean, I think a standard is being set. But, of course, I see the word growing. Abolition definitely went a lot further when George Floyd was killed. And if you just look at my timeline, I publicly started, like, naming myself as an abolitionist. What was that? January 2020? That's when I first put on all my platforms just abolitionist. I'm not putting restorative, none of that. I just said abolitionist. When George Floyd got killed, I even got a like, this is like so sacred. I even got an interview early March, I believe, last year with Elder Mahmoud with El Khati. And if you're familiar with the Twin Cities, he's one of our most beloved elders we got. Professor Emeritus at McAllister, true historian. Always believed in me, wrote letters on my behalf so I wouldn't have to go to prison. Love Mahmoud. And his son is in mint condition. So just on the, like, just to give y'all a little, his son, Stokely is his son. But Mahmoud, he started what's called communiversities. 2004 Golden Time Coffee Shop, all black coffee shop owned by Stephanie and Mike. Shout out to them. And he would have communiversities where he had professors teaching community members about stuff. And I'm like, damn, that's tight. Communiversity, you know what I mean? Fast forward to 2020, and Elder Mahmoud, and we got it taped and all of that. He said, Jason, I appreciate you pointing us back to abolition. He said, for you even say the term and be able to have like 2 weeks later, George Floyd got lynched. Then you heard all kind of people saying, abolish the police. And people like, abolish the police? With George Floyd, people start saying, I'm not trying to work with that no more. I'm divesting. I'm not going to try and train them no more. I'm not. So, yeah, things have changed. But, I mean, you got to think, Dante Wright got killed for what? Having a air freshener hanging from his, so policing in and of itself, you got to shrink these departments till they don't exist. While we shrinking them, we build the communities we want. Yeah. So you know how to hold somebody accountable. You know how to hold me accountable. Like, that's what we need, and just make sure everybody's needs are met. If somebody's struggling with drugs, how do we love them despite the fact that we know they're going to use? They're going to rebel. They're going to kick and scream. How do we still do interventions with them in a loving way? Where it's like we're not just sending them out somewhere to get better. We on the journey with them. So it's just about us really taking our power back and saying, no, I'm not going to call this number and have this stranger with a gun and a badge show up. I know who's going to come if I'm in an unsafe situation. Like an outside person who's
not like familiar with what they're working with or what the situation is.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to go over the 3 pillars really quick, just going back to the Institute of Aspiring Abolitionists.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated with this work. I'm still learning a lot more. I think a lot of, I spoke about this with my friend David, actually, that everyone is on their journey of learning more about the work that they kind of want to do just in general, in humanitarian work, social justice work, whatever that may look like for them. And, some people are just beginning. Some people haven't even, they didn't even know that they're already on this process, right?
Absolutely.
And so obviously there's people who are further in their work, and they know kind of where they stand. And so I'm still very new. I would definitely say that I'm, in the last year or so learning. But anyway, so going back to this goal, I'm very interested in learning more, but I wanted to speak about the 3 pillars. So you have reimagining community safety.
Yeah.
And then you provide a series of retreats and teach-ins. So that's just developing that community safety piece. There's a model, I think, that goes with it.
Yeah.
And then keeping the discussion going. So continuing within those networks that you've built and deepening those relationships. So I think those 3 pillars, I wanted to make sure that we got that in there as well.
Yeah.
But before we close out today, I just wanted to see if there was anything else that Kim or you wanted to speak about. And then, we'll kind of, hopefully you'll come back and we'll do 52 more episodes. Hopefully.
I wish I could, man.
You have to. No. But yeah, anything else that you think would be really important for people to know?
I just love the creativity. I think as much as we're talking about, dismantling and abolishing systems, it's also about that building and creativity that is occurring, like your podcast or, looking at how are we, the system and the systems that we've invested in continue to disable people. They really do. And then when I see Jason teaching or
you're enabling people.
You're helping people increase their ability and become their most able selves. So
I see a lot of the activation work that's being done.
And finding out what is your strength? What are you good at? And how can you grow that? How can you grow that and be part of positive change within the community, or creating those holistic, healing, loving communities that we talked about, because we talked about love before the camera started rolling.
Absolutely.
And how that's embedded into everything. It's the core and the central piece. So
for sure,
positive reinforcement rather than negative reinforcement.
Absolutely. And just really understanding your purpose here. You know what I mean? You here to find deep love, in variations of it. You know what I mean? It comes in different forms. And I think, like I said, we get so lost in our fights or our battles or what's not going right in our life, or we don't take a second to just appreciate what we have seen and what we have done. You know what I mean? So it's just a recentering, grounding. And that's why the Institute. So one thing is this, I said earlier, if we didn't reach the goal, it would have been a fail, because I would have gave up so much time, and not received anything. It would have been devastating. But I know I would have dusted myself off and figured it out going forward. So I think we always got to inspire people. If you got that energy for the day, man, it don't hurt you to like lift somebody else up. It don't cost you at all. You know what I mean? Just being kind, just taking an extra second. Like, I'm not somebody who ever had road rage. It's not my thing. I'm not leaning on my horn. Go.
That's me.
I don't. Look,
It is me.
There's a lot of people. It ain't just you. It's a whole lot of people. I'm saying I can take a pause and let you stick your middle finger up and all of that stuff, because it's like, man, come on, man. Like, it don't matter if we go to the furthest extent of this. You cut my car off and you ready to fight. I'm good if it go to however far it go. That's why I'm the calmest person. Like, I don't got no beef with you driving. You ain't got to honk your horn and say, what the what? And do all You don't got to do all of that with me. So
I feel like you're speaking to me.
No. I'm speaking to a lot of people. I really am. Like, it's so many people that have road rage. I'm only saying this because I can pause and just say, oh, they just tripping. I don't know what they got going on. Because I've had moments where people do all of that stuff and we end up at the same meeting. And it's like now you feeling all weird and stuff.
Now all of a sudden.
We done ended up. So I'm saying, just pause enough to really figure and think through situations. Like, plan for what you need to. Plan for, yes, if somebody does this to me, how can I solve it without calling the police? When I talk to people about community safety, like you say, the first pillar, I might ask somebody, if somebody breaks into your home, what do you need? Some people might say, I need to know who did it. I need all my stuff replaced. I need somebody to fix my door. And I need some people just to be there with me because I don't feel safe by myself. You don't need the police for that. We can handle that. So it's just like pausing long enough to say, what do I really need? Like, in an unsafe situation, if somebody does this, if somebody does this at the store, if somebody does, what do you need? So it's just taking that pause and saying, with Rep for Minnesota, like I say, we creating our own, like, REP stands for Relationships Evolving Possibilities. So all we doing is strengthening our relationships. Like, I'm asking my mom in Chicago, like, and my mom ain't calling the police. She gonna call my little brother first. She gonna call me second to keep me informed. Then she got maybe 3 other calls. Her mind never has to go to 911. So I want everybody to get their calls up. So I wanted to talk about that in the community safety space. And
that's like really restructuring like what you've always known.
For sure.
In terms of the definition of safety.
Absolutely. You want to say something about the 23rd before we get out of here? I think it'll be good. I mean, just to
absolutely to
inform folks. So February 23rd, how do you do this on your platform? I want to get it right. How do you?
Well, I know that, I mean, it doesn't matter. We can cut that part out too. But like what I would do is, if we can create an event even, like I would just take it and put that information in there.
Cool. Yeah.
And that's cool too, because then I hope that this content just stays on forever, right?
Got you.
And so I'll take that and then remove it whenever it's done and then replace it,
that works better anyway.
Yeah, as far as the 23rd event, I'm very excited. I'll be there.
Yeah, and it's just furthering the conversation. So
absolutely.
I only brought that up because that's another moment where we can have deeper conversations because people want to know, what are y'all abolitionists?
Food too.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I got it hooked up.
Absolutely, we appreciate that. But this was dope, man. Like I said, I could go on and on about those pillars and on about the Institute, but I want people to be hopeful. Like, abolition ain't about something scary or something that's just unknown. We talking about it so people can be more comfortable with it because it's the future.
At all levels of their learning too.
Absolutely.
You know, there are people, like I said, have really furthered their work in this arena, whereas some are really new or they hadn't even heard of it before, which was exactly where I was when I met you.
For sure.
Because I remember asking, like, can you give me some resources? I really don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
You know, and like, look at me now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it's like, honestly, everyone is at their own level. And so those who have really like deepened in their work, they may not be able to like always relate to those who, or vice versa, who are just starting out. And so I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think too, like for me, I'm as I'm learning, I'm realizing like I see this everywhere. I'm starting to relate and see it everywhere, meaning, you know, after George Floyd was murdered, people were holding down their blocks. I remember seeing, you know, you and lots of other people saying, okay, I got this block. I'm taking this block. I'm going to make sure, the women and babies and
sure.
this area are held down. There was a lot of formerly incarcerated people doing
Absolutely.
that work, right? Or, from Humanize My Hoodie, doing the homework hotline
For sure.
through the pandemic. So creating the place where kids could call and say, I need help with this project.
Absolutely.
I need help with this homework.
Yep.
I'm not only getting help with homework, but I'm actually getting mentorship
For
and
sure.
connection with
That
people who are
community
reaching out to
building.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or rep through the cause, or, Humanize
sure.
My Hoodie, saying we're going to create this space for artists and youth where you can show
Absolutely.
up as your authentic
We
self.
just need
and
John
be able
Legend to
create.
tweet that out.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm realizing as I learn, like this, it's everywhere. There
For sure.
are a million different ways to be able to do this, as Miriam Kaba said.
Absolutely.
And we're each doing something, or able to be able to do something to create.
We all have our own strengths. Things
Absolutely.
that we can contribute to
Yeah.
our society or our community and even like our home.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
oh my gosh, on that note, I mean, I can honestly sit here all day.
Yeah.
With both of you. I have more jokes.
Right.
But I really do appreciate you coming, Jason, and spending
Yeah.
this time
Me
and
too.
having this conversation. And like, I feel like this entire experience wasn't even like a podcast. It was me learning. It was an educational thing for me. And the more I feel like I'll continue on this path, I think the more I'll better understand like where I fit even more. So, and then thank you so much, Kim, also for being here.
Yeah,
Sure.
you're
Being
welcome.
my bestie for
You're
the rest-
welcome. I know. I'm not a camera person.
I
so
know.
I was a little like, wait,
This is
what
huge.
it? Like,
This is huge for me
yeah,
too. So
yeah, but
I
it's
appreciate
good.
both of you being here today, and
Absolutely.
yeah, lots more conversations to come.
Thanks
Absolutely.
For having us
Thanks
in
for
your
having me. Dope
home.
facilitation.
Yeah.
Really?
Appreciate you holding this down with us. Yeah.
Thank you.